Hey, what's up? How you guys doing? Welcome to our Sunday live. So much to talk about, and we're going to get into it. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on IGPK, ILIS, FLES, Opti, and a bunch of others. But please, if you're watching, hit the like button and subscribe it, and don't forget to check out our links in the description. So guys, if you can put this video on the Twitter, share this video. Send out a text message. Let's get as many people as we can to today's live. All right. I'm not gonna drag anything out here. Let's get into it. Let's bring in our first guest, the CEO of Transamerican Aquaculture, ticker GRPS, Mr. Adam Thomas. Let's bring him in. Mr. Adam Thomas, welcome back to the BFC, brother. How you doing?
Good, man. Appreciate you having me on.
So listen, you have 30 seconds to tell us everything about the company. No, I'm just kidding. You don't. You have much longer than that.
I could go Micro Machine style. You remember Micro Machines from when you were a kid? The guy
I don't. No.
I used to talk 1,000,000 miles a minute on the Micro Machines commercials, but I'll spare you for now.
Sort of like the guy with the disclaimer, with the medical disclaimers for all the medications out there.
Exactly.
That's funny. All right, so why don't you just give us a brief update. I have some questions for you guys. If you have questions for Adam, put them in the description, or not in the description, put them in the comment section, because that's what we're here for. All right, yep. Adam, it's all yours.
Yeah, so we had a press release come out I think it was about a week or two ago, actually middle of last week. Just stating that we had sold all of our shrimp. So that was a big thing for us, a very successful end to the beginning of, our first, we'll call it real harvest year as a public company. So we're very delighted. We've sold it to a phenomenal customer who we're looking forward to doing business with in the long term, over the next few years and things like that. We're in discussions with them now about what we're going to be doing this year. So part of our stocking programs that we're planning for this year will be definitely working towards some allocation and things like that for this customer. I'm not at liberty just to say yet who it is. We're still working through it with them on that. But just know that it's a major retail chain on the East Coast. So that's something that we're really excited about. We're really happy about. We're able to provide our premium quality shrimp to a customer that definitely shares those values in terms of premium quality seafood products, sustainably raised, and the real cleanliness and healthiness of the product. So big win for us, to get started here in the beginning of the year. And then rolling that right into, we've already started our mating programs, our maturation programs for this year. So, I think where last year we only were able to produce one cycle, this year we've kicked things off already, and we're hoping to get, those 2 full cycles in this year, if not kind of a little bit more continuous stocking that we're going to be doing over the course of the next few months, but really focusing on, driving the growth of the volume of the product that we're producing, but then also, branching out in terms of, the sales and the customers that we're dealing with as well. So it's been a good start to the year. It has not been easy. The overall seafood market, we'll call it the overall shrimp market right now, is pretty depressed in terms of everything that's going on in the global market. Ecuador, which ironically, a good portion of the company and the expertise within Transamerican comes from Ecuador, has produced record volumes of shrimp. And historically, a lot of that shrimp goes into China. But there's some issues going on with China right now economically. Usually their middle class buys up everything that Ecuador has. But however, there's, some economic things going on in China right now that, that Ecuadorian shrimp's now making its way into the U.S. market. So anybody's seen kind of kept track of shrimp prices over the last year or so, they're at historically depressed values. But the good thing for us is, we've always fallen kind of in the price range between what the Gulf shrimp is going for, the Gulf wild shrimp, and what import pricing is. And that pretty much held true to this year. So again, definitely higher than import pricing and coming in right under that Gulf wild price. So we're happy with the price that we got. We think it translates well into, some things that are going on for this year. But, in a tough environment, we were able to produce shrimp, we were able to sell shrimp, and, gain a good customer in the process.
So in regards to, you mentioned, Ecuador and the fact that they're losing Chinese business, are you concerned that they may find a permanent sale here in the U.S. to all these companies? Is that a concern of yours?
I mean, when you look at the whole market of the U.S., consumes between, the various things you see, between 1.6 billion and 2 billion pounds of shrimp a year. I mean, when our farm is up and fully running and we're producing 10 million plus pounds of shrimp a year, do the quick math. It's less than 0.5% of the total, essentially market that consumers for the U.S. shrimp have. So, we are really focusing on the premium quality side of things. We believe that our product is higher quality. It's more transparent. You know what you're getting. No antibiotics, no chemicals, anything like that. That's an important piece to this whole equation, because right now the U.S. only tests about 1 to 2% of all the imports that come in. So when you think about, you're going to the store and you're seeing that it has a foreign label on it, like produced in XYZ country, know that probably out of the 100 bags of shrimp that you saw there, probably 2 of them actually got tested for antibiotics, chemicals, and things like that. So that's where, there's a market for what we're producing. There's a big market for what we're producing. We're just now scratching the surface of that. So in terms of overall price of the marketplace, I mean, yeah, you always have your commodity pricing and things like that, where an influx of supply is obviously going to meet the demand and it's going to lower the price. But, where we're positioning ourselves and the things we've been able to do this year with getting the product into the marketplace, and now we'll start sending it out to, individuals and things like that as well. I think that, we firmly believe that we have an ability to make this a very big, but yet still niche market. So yes, we're obviously concerned about the overall market pricing, but we're also pretty confident in the product that we're creating and the, place for it in the marketplace.
I want to say that this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, just lost you there for a second.
Yeah, I know. A little bit of a mic issue. By the way, I'm like coughing my brains out today, so I'm like trying to mute it so I don't cough over you. Because this is important information, guys. So I got to say, I really love the company. I think that the business model is great. And you said they only test about 1 to 2% of the product coming in.
Yeah,
that's freaking crazy.
Yep.
That's insane. And so, I know, listen, the middle class is feeling a crunch in the United States. There's no doubt about that. This has been a very lackluster economic time for people's pocketbooks and their bank accounts. It's the truth. Inflation, price of goods, yada, yada. However, when it comes to food, and this is just Americans, I think that we have no problem paying a little bit more for a better product. Like, I got my butcher box coming every month because I enjoy it, and I believe in the quality of the product that I'm getting. I'll go down to there's a farm on my way to work that I'll stop and get some chicken wings or some a fresh brisket or whatever. If I want it fresh, I won't just get what's in the grocery market all the time, because what you're getting, especially if it's fresh, it always isn't. It's not always fresh. It's usually been dead for quite some time. So, and you guys flash freeze your products, obviously, but I mean, so that's crazy that they only test that.
Yeah, I mean, 2 billion pounds, and a container load is about 40,000 pounds of shrimp, so that's 50,000 containers. So the containers you see, on the highway and things like that, imagine 50,000 of those full of shrimp. Yeah, there's not the ability to test all of those. So that's why touting the transparency, the cleanliness of the product, you can look, feel, and touch it. You can literally come to the farm and see it. Like, those are the types of things that, really give us an advantage in the marketplace.
Right on. Okay. We have a question from one of the biggest Bills fans out there, Chris _778. Big Bills. I'm just kidding. Chris, I had to. I had no choice.
But he's got that Dolphins hat on. I'm not answering this question. I don't care if it was what's my middle name. I'm still not answering it. Really, Dolphins hat.
Will you have a booth at the Boston Seafood Show in 2 weeks?
We will not. We're not going to have a booth right now this year. We are focusing a lot of our marketing and energies and things like that into the Pubco side right now. So, obviously we've been fighting with one of our regulatory bodies for the better part of a year now, related to the name and ticker symbol. So we feel like we're getting closer on that. Unfortunately, just kind of a quick 30-second on that. Our examiner left FINRA in November, and it took us until the middle of January to get a new examiner. So this new examiner is going back through and kind of, doing their due diligence as well. So nothing kind of overly concerning, but just, again, some additional round of questions that we have to answer to. But then also really focusing on getting the awareness and the branding, the name of the company out there, and kind of what we're doing, and trying to really start to get away from, the historical GRPS type of things. There's still some financial sites out there that say we're a cannabis company. We are not. We have not been for quite some time now. So there's a lot of things like that where we're focusing our marketing efforts, focusing our marketing dollars and things like that, is to really drive interest in the pubco, into what we're doing and what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go. So we won't be at the Boston Seafood Show right now this year. Some of the things the reasons why we would go there, in terms of like developing sales, talking to our potential Indian customers and things like that, we are making some pretty good traction with that without having to go to the conference. So I will not be there, but some of our board members will be. So if there's any questions, if anybody's there and wants to talk about Trans-American, you will have the ability to reach out to these folks, but I personally won't be there this year.
Okay. And if to piggyback on Chris a little bit, will you do a tour? Maybe like next summer or whatever, where you do like a shareholders meeting and tour down, down in Texas and really go through the whole process, and then give everybody some shrimp samples. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, I know that's a really good point. I mean, we wanted to have a shareholder meeting this past year. It just didn't work out with the timing of the harvest and everything that we went through related to that. Then we got very quickly into the new year. But absolutely. I will be down at the farm this weekend, back in the farm. So I will have no problem. Like I said, we're already starting our maturation. That's the mating of the shrimp. We're, cleaning out and getting everything ready in the hatchery. So we can definitely do some quick fly throughs and things like that, just to show everybody kind of what's what related to how the process works, the chain of events, going from maturation to the hatchery to the nurseries, and then to see the work that's being done in the grow out ponds to prepare for this year.
So there's some happy brood stock down there. I got what you're
So
saying.
there's a lot of happy brood stock.
All right. My follow up to your discussion on marketing. So are you talking about full scale marketing, not IR, not tweets? Like, are you talking about getting a full out marketing team to get your brand in the mainstream, not just on Twitter?
Yeah. And that's, one of the big things is, we know that there's some historical, I guess you could say, things that are lacking that we need to really focus on, not just from an investor relations standpoint, but from a building a brand, building a company image is what, we're really focusing on a lot of that as well. Like, we're a real company. A lot of, Iraq, I know you've mentioned it multiple times in your show and then in various discussions we've had, that there's a lot of not real companies in the OTC space. So first and foremost, getting our name out, getting the fact that we do produce products, we produce healthy products for the consumer. Those are the types of efforts that we're now starting to focus on, as well as we ramp up our volume, our production for this year, knowing that, like I said, historically, we've sold our shrimp to kind of a local distributor, a couple local, retail chains. As we build those channels out, we build that marketing out, we build that branding out, it's going to be imperative that we have our own identity. And so, focusing on, I would call it like traditional marketing and branding. And we're also focusing on investor relations. Don't forget about that. There's a lot of positive things that we're doing this year that we're going to be fully transparent about, related for all of our investors, potential investors, and most importantly, our shareholders, making sure that we get the message out about what we're doing, when we're doing it, how we're doing it. That's, of utmost importance to all of those folks.
Okay. Let me ask you a little bit about debt, financing that you're looking for, and basically your profitability. Obviously, this is your first go around. It was your first harvest. Yep. And I'm going to ask you a little bit more about the harvest processing time. I'll get to that in a second. But talk to us about the debt to income ratio, where you're at in regards to profitability, and where you could see yourself by the end of this year. Yeah, no, our goal for this year is to be profitable by the end of the year. It's to be in the black, come Beautiful. Kind of hell or high water. That barrier for us is not super high in terms of the amount of production we need. We do have some debt on the books. Our debt on the books right now is mostly related to our farm note. That's kind of the big one right now. So if anybody went through the S1 or anything like that, you'll see the financials. Like, our farm debt is by far the biggest, piece of debt that we have. There's also some historical investor notes and things like that, partner notes and whatnot, friendly to the company, but yet still, it's debt on the balance sheet. When it comes to profitability, like I said, we've got a break-even number that's, I won't shout it out right now, but it's very achievable for this year. And that's, our main focus is to start to become cash flow positive and subsequently be able to come, to organically sustain these harvests without having to go to the marketplace, without having to raise additional capital. It's really about, reinvesting all of the profits, all of the cash that comes into the company, right back into the company to make sure we can keep producing, and then eventually start to take care of, kind of all those things that we have on the balance sheet, start cleaning that up. But first and foremost, it's getting shrimp in the ponds. It's getting shrimp sold. It's getting brood stock out to India, which I'm foreshadowing a little bit there, but point I'll make later. But for us, it's really about just
producing the product, getting it sold, getting cash in, reinvesting it, and then continuing that cycle for the foreseeable future.
Damn, that's exciting. That's exciting. Yeah, I ever since that we found you guys, I've been rooting for you. And you've been on the show. This is almost, I don't know, for a long time now.
Yeah.
In the life of the BFC, you've been around for like almost 25 to 30% of our life. And we followed you. A lot of the BFC folk have followed you, which is great. So we want this to be a success. Not just as shareholders, but and that's one thing that I like to focus on. And I know that and that's something that I'm a little different on compared to a lot of my constituents in the OTC space, is that I really do want to see companies succeed. And in the end, yeah, it's about making money on the stock and stuff. But I want to see success stories. I want to see people on the show go on to NASDAQ, go on to go on this, have a successful company and be in the positive, be in the black. And honestly, within 2 years being in the black and being able to do that is a lofty goal. But the fact that you say it's achievable, good for you. Good for you.
Absolutely is. So yeah, that's the direction we're marching towards. Like if we had no other message to leave you with, that's where we're marching towards this year is profitability by the end of the year.
Great. I got to ask about the harvest processing time.
Cool.
All right. So I know, because I am a shrimp farming idiot. Everything I know about it is from you. But I gotta say, how long does it take from the time? All right, boom, boys, it's harvest time. All right, how long after that do we get shrimp to the grocery market?
Gotcha. So how fast it gets to market is dependent upon the buyer. So how fast can we get it to the market? It's literally hours. So the way that we start, we harvest a pond. Let's just say we harvest a pond. The way that we do it is, you bring totes close to the pond. You obviously clean them with water when they come through the harvest machine. They get cleaned out. You put them in kind of like an ice slurry. It kind of slows them down. It eventually kills them. Let's just call it what it is. Okay. From that point where they're in this ice slurry, we repack them in ice, and we send them to the processing plant. The processing plant is 30 minutes away from our farm. So we'll call it in an event that I needed to send a quote unquote fresh batch of shrimp to a customer, I could literally pull it out of my ponds, wash it, clean it, and have it in San Antonio or Austin about 6 hours after it came out of the pond. Wow. So that's one of the advantages we have with where the farm is located. We're 5 hours from Houston. We're 4 hours from San Antonio. We're 5 hours from Austin. We're 8 hours from Dallas. That's almost 30 million consumers. But talking about a normal flash, what we do is IQF, individually click frozen. That's the process that we follow with most of our shrimp. So that process, I can literally have it from about 2 hours after it comes out of the ponds. I can have it at the processing plant. So from the fact that it comes out at say 10 a.m., I can have it at the processing plant at noon. It'll be frozen and packed by 1 o'clock. So, and then from there, It's really up to the retail customer on how quickly they want it. If they want to buy it that week, if they want to hold it. I mean, shrimp has a pretty good shelf life. Frozen shrimp has a pretty good shelf life, but yeah, if you want something quick, frozen, we could get it to you in a few days.
Is that a dad joke? Is that a shelf life?
A shelf.
Shelf life. Yeah.
Shelf life. Yeah. But yeah,
I had to.
Yeah, and we do have we have multiple different avenues we can go in terms of bringing the shrimp out of the ponds and getting it to a consumer. So local restaurants, they get some fresh stuff pretty quickly.
That's awesome. Let's bring up Wayward's question. Are the sales to India going well?
Wayward must have a little bit of telepathy there, but so we booked our first sale to India. Yes. So we are planning right now. Basically the issue was we got approved by India, and then we have to get approval from the USDA. So the USDA is the one that gives you your export certificate to be able to send out. That is all predicated upon an animal health certificate that you get from your local vet. So our local vet has been at the farm for the last week or so, just kind of going over all the protocols, SOPs that we have in place, and reviewing the health of our animals. We have to follow some specific protocols within the broodstock quarantine center. Like we have to lock things down for a few weeks. Then after that period of time, we'll send them for testing. Once the testing comes back, we're pretty much good to go. Still a few things that we're working out, but yes, we have booked our initial sale to India. It's with a major PL hatchery producer in the Eastern India. So we're pretty excited about that because this is, we fully expect the shrimp to perform. That's why we got into the marketplace. And if the shrimp perform like we know they can, it's going to open up a very, very nice big business for us.
That's awesome. Wayward, hope that answers your question. Michael Singleton, let's bring up his question. Are you still looking at expanding your current location? Can you talk about that a little?
I sure can. I can talk about it a lot. So when you look at the farm on, like, if you look at like a Google Earth view of the farm, you'll see we have 1,800, almost 1,900 total acres. When you
Mhm.
look at strictly on the pond tops and the availability that we have for the pond tops, let's just round it out at about 1,200 acres. The other acreage is made up of land that we have for the hatchery, canals, dikes, the resettling pond, and all that. So when you look at the way that the farm is laid out, we have a northern half and a southern half. The northern half, which is closer to the river, has basically what we would call 3.5 rows of shrimp. Those are 5-acre ponds each. And there's about a total of, we'll call it 500 acres, 450 to 500 acres there. The southern half has 2 rows, and those are 10-acre ponds each. So double the size, half the rows. Kind of makes sense. Last year, we only utilized 124 of acres of the total 1,200 that we have from the pond tops, and we only stocked at about a density of 8 per square meter. So when you look at the overall capacity, when you look at full aeration, and this gets a little bit into the future, this is probably a couple years down the road just because of the sheer numbers you're looking at for CapEx, but full aeration, full automation of the farm, auto feeders and everything like that, you could probably do anywhere from 25 to 30 per square meter. So just based on that, we're at about a third, we'll call it a third to a quarter of the stocking density in each pond, and we're only utilizing about 10% of the ponds. So that was what we did last year. Now we can do that on 2 cycles. Wow. So that's when I mentioned earlier about the 10 million plus pounds. Like, that's something we could eventually get to. We're not going to get there this year. We probably won't get there next year. You have to build into the market for this. So this year, we're definitely planning on stocking at a higher density and stocking more ponds and stocking more times this year. So in terms of an overall expansion, we have a lot of physical land to expand into that is already essentially prepared. It needs to be rehabilitated to a certain extent. But when you look at the overall amount of area we can expand into and the efficiencies we can, and the expansion, or the expansion of the stocking densities, then yeah, there's some very, very big opportunities to expand the production protocols across the platform for us.
Okay. The numbers, like, I'm just trying to run them in my head. And let's see, 8 per square meter, you said, and then increasing that, well, you could triple that and, still retain a very healthy product. Because that, by the way, guys, that still is far below what these other shrimp ponds are doing across the world. It gets crazy. But then you're only using, what, 10% of the land that you have, give or take.
Yep.
And I mean, you're talking about if you could achieve profitability by the end of this year, and then you scale into, obviously, needing to get financing for whatever, expanding operations and stuff. You're talking about a freaking massive operation.
Yes.
Like, at that point, and maybe I'm just like getting too excited because, like, I could just imagine how you feel looking 4 years down the road. You maximized your acreage, you maximized what you have. And let's say you guys are banging this thing out left and right. You're extremely profitable at this point. You are a name brand product. All right. People recognize you. Then you're talking about expansion, maybe multi-state expansion, perhaps. I mean, I don't know. Is that right? That my mind goes there?
I mean, so the way that our current operating model is set up, we wouldn't be physically expanding the same exact operation that we have now. You could maybe do it in Florida. You could do it in other parts of Texas. But you're really not going to find anywhere else in the US that you can kind of do what we do for the amount of time for the year that we can do it in. Now, one of the things that we are obviously working on is, once the farm is up to its full capacity in terms of where we're at from a production standpoint, then obviously the economics of RAS and things like that start to come in. RAS is recirculating aquaculture systems. That's where you hear a lot of these folks like building, like, I mean, this is kind of going to be a little bit of a crude way of saying it, but like mom and pops buying pools at Walmart, throwing them in a barn during the winter and growing shrimp in the ponds. Like, essentially they're doing a recirculating aquaculture system. There are a lot of very sophisticated companies that are doing that right now. There's a couple here in the US. It's gaining a lot of traction in Europe and in Asia. But essentially, like, the cost of production that we have at the farm right now versus the cost of production on a RAS system they're two totally different ball games. Like, it's almost like, a custom made Rolls Royce in terms of the unit cost. And the price that you need to command in the marketplace for these RAS products right now versus what we can produce on a farm-based perspective. Eventually, we would like to get into that, and we would like to explore that. We feel that the genetics of our broodstock can support that, which is the key piece to this. If you can grow an animal, that can grow in these different types of artificial environments, that has a genetic characteristics to kind of, a little bit colder water temperature, because one of the big costs is obviously keeping all that water warm, especially in the northern climates. But focusing on animal genetics and things like that, that's something we can start to do over the next few years. RAS is a long-term play for us. It's not something we're focused on right now. Expansion into call it shrimp tower type thing outside of Chicago or outside of New York, where you've got a vertically integrated tower that's 1,200 feet tall. It's producing 1 million pounds of shrimp a year. That's something kind of a little bit down the road in terms of futuristic type things. But for us, where we want to get the company to and our focus on right now is getting to the point where we can maximize the efficiency and the productivity of the farm. And then from that point on, there will be opportunities to expand, if it's not solely Trans-American, through joint ventures, through genetic avenues and things like that.
Cool. Excellent. We're going to get to a couple more questions before we let you go, but I did have a question in regards to partnerships. I know you can't talk about the chain that you sold to just yet, because of disclosure. I know. I really wish you were able to share that with us, but you can't. Are there any other chains or partnerships that you're actually looking into as of now?
Yes, there are. So not only the one on the East Coast, there are also a couple that are more local friendly to us in Texas, and some nationwide chains that we're discussing with as well. So yeah, we're not just putting all the eggs in one basket, but obviously customer contracts speak volumes in terms of that, in that aspect.
Cool. All right, let's bring up a question from the mad scientist. How are the effects of stricter immigration affecting your workforce? Is workforce your biggest expense?
So it's not overly affecting our workforce. Right now, we utilize the H-2A visa program. So we bring a lot of skilled labor from Ecuador right now. So these are folks that have worked with our team in one capacity or another in Ecuador and here in the States. So we brought folks over the last few years. We'll be bringing them back again this year. So the stricter immigration really hasn't impacted us. Workforce is a big expense. The H-2A program minimum required salary is well above minimum wage, like double minimum wage. And we are also obligated to provide housing and food for those workers. So yeah, it's not a small chunk of change, but in terms of knowledge, skill, and things like that, it more than pays for itself, as opposed to kind of hiring local unskilled talent that we have to train up. We've done that. We continue to do that because it only makes sense for us. But for the foreseeable future, we'll be utilizing the visa program.
Right on. That's excellent. All right. Question from Brian. Are there any other companies that do this?
So
I know you talked about some of the RAS companies, but any others?
Yep, there are. So in terms of straight grow out ponds, like the same type of methodology that we use, yes, there's another farm in Texas. They've been successful for the last 35 years. So
wow.
Yeah, there is one other, I would say, well-established farm. They're the kind of gold standard right now. That's what we're trying to achieve, and obviously surpass. But as of right now, yeah, they have a great operation. It runs pretty efficiently from our understanding. In terms of RAS, there are a bunch of RAS companies. There's a few of them in Florida. They also focus, mostly on, we'll call it smaller batches type things. They're not producing in mass. And then, obviously there's natural shrimp and things like that here in Texas and in Iowa that they do the RAS systems as well. So, but yeah, there's, in terms of direct competition, in terms of the way, same methodology, same way that we do things, just a few companies. But production wise, it's nothing that's going to corner the market or anything like that.
Cool. Awesome. All right. One more question for you. And Michael Singleton, you're it. Are there any other animals products TAA may branch into, like fish?
Yes. Just to be blunt, yes. It's something that we are looking into. Especially, we have the capacity in the farm to still produce a large amount of shrimp. With the way, even with, if we do, just to say, breaking it into northern section, southern section. We've absolutely had those conversations. Have they developed any further yet? No. For right now, it's focusing on just solely the shrimp and efficiencies and optimization of the capacity in the facility that we have right now. But those are absolutely discussions that we've started to have, that we probably will continue to have, and we'll see what the marketplace looks like when we're in a position to kind of branch into that. But right now, I would say our main focus is just solely on, our shrimp products. That doesn't mean that we're just going to pull shrimp out of the ponds, put them in a freezer, and then send them off to whatever customer. That could also mean various, individual quick packs, direct to consumer, a lot of things like that we're also interested in that are also higher margin than necessarily selling direct to retail. So, but yes, we've actually absolutely thought about it. Absolutely, we'll continue to have those conversations. And if the kind of timing is right, opportunity is right, then we may strike on it.
All right, Michael, I hope that answers your question. That's a great answer. I got to ask you though, what do you make more money on? What's more lucrative? Would it be fish or shrimp? And is it like I don't know the market of either in comparison.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a catch-22 because shrimp have a much longer life cycle. So like if you want to grow like red drum is kind of big and popular here in Texas. My understanding of the red drum process is that it takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months to produce shrimp that are ready to be, harvested and sold in the marketplace. In that 12 to 18 months, we could potentially do 3 to 4 shrimp harvests. So on a unit price, and a unit economics, we would have to dive into it a little bit further, but that's where I get a little bit kind of queasy in terms of that such of a long kind of production growth cycle. Like sturgeon, for example, there's a caviar farm, here in the U.S. It's like a 5 to 6 year sales cycle, from the time the shrimp or from the time the sturgeon are bred to the time they produce, the acceptable quality level of caviar. Yeah. So I get a little bit finicky and a little bit kind of queasy when we go out with those kind of extended timeframes, but that's why it might make sense eventually to start to supplement the products that Transamerican's producing with the type of, another type of fish or whatnot. But knowing that, yeah, I mean, even if we stocked those ponds today, they probably wouldn't be ready to the beginning of 2026.
And I could use say an apple orchard. All right. Say you and I'm just using this as a reference. If I want to start a farm and start doing apple trees, I'm waiting years before I could start cycling into products and bring people in, sell it, so I understand your hesitancy there, so that makes sense to me. And I've thought about the tree thing because of the mad scientist. Why isn't he growing pecan trees on this farm?
Because we
pecan shrimp variety.
Because we have mesquite trees everywhere. So it's going to be, tell the mad scientist it's going to be mesquite tree.
Oh, it's good. That is excellent. Adam, thanks for coming back on. This is a very enlightening segment, and I appreciate you, and I'm rooting for your success, man.
No, as always, I appreciate you having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. So yeah, nothing but continued success for you as well. And hopefully we can keep coming back as we kind of have some facts and some actual wins to post on the board and things like that. So I appreciate the time as always.
Yeah, you got it, man. my stupid mic. All right. We'll do this again. Let's say 3 or 4 weeks. We'll bring it back on. Anytime you want to do an update, you are welcome. And
we need to do a live at the farm.
Yes,
I think that would be good.
I'm in that 100%. I know Rob's in it, and I know the BFC fan would absolutely love it. All right, get this guy out of here. Get him out of here. Man, always a breath of fresh air. Like seriously, I hope that at some point I'm able to actually get down there and check things out and crack a beer with the man and talk shrimp. So, and Adam, if you're still listening, let me know when you're back up in Buffalo. All right, we're gonna keep this thing going. All right, because we still have a lot to talk about. Next up, a guy that has probably tagged one of your tickers with ticker GGSM. And here to discuss GGSM and share some due diligence, the man that brought you OTC Powerhouse DVLP, Mr. Hobbs. Let's bring him in. How you doing, Mr. Hobbs?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I couldn't resist. I just couldn't resist.
That's okay. But you didn't give my ABQQ call at 0003, did you? Or my TSNP call at 5 or
You've called a couple great ones. Yeah, I'm just razzing you.
DVLP, we all got screwed on that one. I took it hard on that one.
Hey, you know what? It'd be like me. Like I was all about Sugar Made back in the day before I knew anything about it.
Sorry, go ahead. I missed that.
No, I'm just talking about Sugar Made. I go that was a fun one. When you start learning the trade and somebody goes, "Oh, Sugar Made, they're a cannabis company," and then you invest and then you realize what you invested in, and somehow you escape unscathed, which is pretty remarkable. Yeah, ABQQ. That was a great call, by the way. Right now, I like it at the pickup point at 18. So it had some pullback. So, but listen, I don't want to go on any other tickers right now because we could talk all night.
Sounds good.
I want to give you 15 minutes solid. All right.
All right.
A DD Powerhouse, and I'm going to set the timer because I have about 25 minutes left. I'm setting the timer. The show is yours, man. Take it away.
All right. So I pushed the presentation button, correct?
Yep. We'll bring it right on for you. There it is. Bada bing.
All right. Okay.
All right.
First of all, we're going to get into DVO around. Yeah. Excuse me. GGSM. Now, in 2022, this was actually a reverse merger, and that's what people want. And if you look here, January 31st, 2022, the net income increased 2,400% to $3.9 million from 153,000 in 2021. And the assets grew 4.3 million, an increase of 1,800%. So that's pretty good in itself right there. Now let's get into the facts of the company here. Okay, so here we have the share structure, and this is always very important to me. And so what you have here is 2.2 billion shares authorized, 1.932 billion outstanding. Now, if you scroll down a little bit more here, we see that the authorized shares were just reduced from 3.5 billion to 2.2 billion in November of 2023. So with that being said, now you look down a little bit more and you see the facilities description was updated recently as well. It used to be marina and boat services. Now it has restaurants, hotels, oceanfront homestays as well. And the big thing down here next is the number of employees increased from 7 to 150. You don't see that every day, I'll tell you that. Now, you look at the product description and you see it used to be vessel and transportation business. It still is that, but now it says hotel and villa development. Keep that in mind for what we're about to learn here in a bit. Okay, so we scroll down, we see Rudy Kelsey's the CFO, CEO. Then you see he now is connected to Loretta Consulting, and that is, you see he's the owner here. So if you click visit our office, I'll show you where that takes us soon. I'm just going to go through this a little bit more first here, just to show all the proof that this all connects and it's all real. So you see down here, when you actually click Loretta Group, you see it takes you to 2 different places on the home sheet. Now you see I labeled 1 and 2 here, Loretta Eastern Europe. That is one of the companies, or that's his other website that connects the company, and Loretta Brazil is the one that is on here right now. So now we'll go into Loretta Brazil or Loretta Eastern Europe first. So down here we see they have lawyers, they have specialization of business, civil law, state administrative law, criminal law, administrative law, criminal law, labor law. But then you go down here and you see all their services here, and you can see their, did that blow it up or not? It didn't do anything. Let's see what that does.
There you go.
Okay, so I don't know if I can move that. Oh, I can too. Okay, so real quick, you can see they pretty much do everything as a lawyer. Here, visas, immigration law, legal assistance, real estate, representing clients in court, police, immigration, other services, business, legal, opening on running a business. There's a whole bunch of other things too. Audits for taxes, and we all know how expensive auditing is. So carry on down here. We got the visas. They do all kinds of visas and everything like that to Singapore, all places all around. You'll have to do your own research because I only got 15 minutes to talk to you guys. So with the extension of visa as well, they do KETAs. They do business services as well here. And on the business services, you'll see they have, you can open bank accounts through them. You can apply for foreign investors, taxes. Okay, now we get into the fun stuff here. So on that Loretta.com, LorettaVisa.com, I noticed they have their partners, and their partner they have is Rip Curl and Quicksilver. So getting into Quicksilver first here, you see that it was currently now owned by Board Riders Incorporated, and they also own Roxy and DC Shoes and Billabong and Element and Von Zipper, RBCA, XL. Recently in 2023, Authentic Brands Group acquired Board Riders and all their associated brands and intellectual property. So now we scroll down to this here for the acquisition has been finalized for Board Riders. And you see here, because of that, or who owns it is a multi-brand retailer, or sorry, they acquired the multi-brand retailer Board Riders, and it's led by the Canadian billionaire James Salter. So they now, Authentic's annual retail sales now exceed $29 billion globally. So now if you scroll down here a little bit more and you see the partners of the, or the portfolio of them, and you have all kinds of good names on your Airwalk, Muhammad Ali, Arrow, David Beckham, Brooks Brothers, DC Shoes, Eddie Bauer. You know, it's loaded with names down here of all the companies that these people own and everything, right? So Elvis Presley, Quicksilver, Reebok, it just goes on and on and on and on. Sportscraft, Sports Illustrated. I don't have much time to go into that anymore. So we'll go on to Leroy Group now. This is the first website that it connects to. So I'm just going to go through this soon or right quick here. And they have investment projects in Indonesia, realty, tourism, and transport. So you see, it's a leading investment company. They help individuals grow their wealth through smart investments for over 10 years, and they have finance professionals. They have real estate that they've been doing for over 7 years. The team has experienced long-standing partnerships with other companies, reputable real estate, successfully operating as a trustworthy and reputable real estate agency. I'm just piecing here. Loretta Group is licensed property agency located in Valley. Okay, so now you go down a little bit more and you see where the connections start. You see at hydglobalinvestments.com, you see the CEO of our company here, Rudy, and his management team and architectural team and all that other fun stuff. So now you see some of the projects that they are making here. So this is just actually building their own, the properties are designed with modern luxury in mind with prime location. So that basically means that you're getting the property from them and the real estate from them. So they're covering both. And they also cover the building of it, because now if you scroll down a little farther, you'll see this rose mezzanine here. And now we're just going to jump into, okay, so what this is this is hydglobalinvestmentshere.com. So this is where I got this picture from. And you can see, if you look right here, you'll see the actual global investments company here beside it. And the proof is coming on all this here. So that's this here picture now is from Google Maps. And you can see what they do. They have villa development, which now the company does, as I mentioned before. GGSM is now into that. So because of that as well, I didn't mention this yet, is they're becoming a holding company. My guess is they're bringing in all these other companies that the CEO owns to bolster the share price and the value of this company. And even if they don't do that, they already have the connections through the building of them. So they build all the projects, they sell the projects, they plan the projects, they do everything. They have the realtors, so they do step A through Z basically. When you want to open a business or purchase a property or build something, they have it all. I'm about to prove that to you guys here. So now if you look on this one here, you'll see this is straight from Google Maps as well, and you'll see what I had circled above here. You'll see right there the property of the global investments right there, and then you'll see beside it the actual building they're building. Now you scroll down and you see it's actually really true, because you can see it right there that they are doing the exact same thing. If you see here, I'll move it over a little bit, and you can see it's built right there. And this is straight from Google Maps, and they get the high HYD construction. They got the global development, so they do all their own projects. They do everything themselves. So now you'll see some of the projects that they have here. Just a quick thing. I don't have many of them. You have to go to the website and look at the rest of them yourself. But if you can see, they're really beautiful. And they also do motorcycle and sale, or rental and sale for motorbikes. And they have 5 locations, and I have them right here. And you can go through that yourself. And well, I can say them real quick. Well, I can't really read them. Hold on. I don't want to waste my time because I don't have much time. I got a lot of information to go through. So they're in like 5 different places. Now here's where they also have car rentals, and this one here, if you actually click it, it's actually, these are great videos, and this one actually has the HYD logo on the bike. So this is their bike, and whatever else they do with it. Now here you'll see the sales. You'll see the land sales they do as well here. So if I just scroll it over to the side here, you'll see the HYD Global Investments and the land for sale right there. So that's more stuff they have. Then down here, on the last part of this little bit is they have a value, or they're redomiciling in Oklahoma. They're executing a parent subsidiary reorganization. They merged into Gold OK. They have assets for mining as well that I haven't mentioned. And they also, the surviving entity is Gold OK after the October 23rd of the 12th, October 12th, 2023, pardon me. And on December 29, 2023, they actually have now incorporated into a gold merger sub as the wholly owned subsidiary. The plan of reorg, where gold merger sub will become the parent and holding company under the parent subsidiary formation. Pardon me. Now to get into some other little stuff here real quick here. Okay, so now we got through that. So now we noticed the AS was 3.5 billion. The shares of the public float were 890 million. Now, as you notice that February the 1st, they've been reduced to 695 million. There's been talk that might not be correct from people online. However, if it wasn't, I don't see why they would put that date. We'll just leave it at that. Now on to the next stuff here. Now, if you look at the liabilities, they have 0 liabilities. They have 8 million in assets. They are book value for 8 months. I put 8 months. It's actually either 3 quarters or 8 months, because the only reason I put 8 months is because they are reorganizing their year-end date from January 31st to December 31st. So I'm not sure if it's 8 months or what it is, if it's 9 months in there, or how they're doing it. But anyway, the book value is at 0.0042, and at $12 million. That's with 8.15 on the book value, and there's no debt, no convertible notes, no nothing like that here. So now we'll get into the next thing here, and that is they could be paying current anytime, because the merger or because of the filings are up to date, and they're becoming a holding company in the filings. The updated filings for the last 2 years are in the last queue for some reason, and they have a lot more information, where this is the first time in the last queue is where they actually mentioned Loretta in there. And that's where I got my clue that all this stuff came together. And just recently, the CEO opened, just a couple days ago, he opened an Instagram account for his Loretta company. Actually, his second part of the Loretta company. He already had one for the first part. So it makes me think that they're going to want to speak soon. This company has been around since he was 20 years old. He looks to be about 34, with all the information and everything that I've found about how long the company's been around and things like that. So now you look at the assets, 8.156 million, 8.5 million revenues in just 3 quarters, 2 million plus in cash. They also have a $1.69 million in Q3 that was a term deposit that started off in term 1 or Q1 at 1.3 million, pardon me. So in over the 3 quarters, they made 247K in profits. That's for doing nothing, putting money in the bank, because they actually have it, not like other companies where they have to, I have to sell shares to get companies, or pardon me, to get money. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so you got dozens of partnerships. There's a holding company being created. So here's a fun fact about 3 revenue sources. So they had laundry services. In 2021, they did $201 a year. In 2022, they did $3,000 in the year. 2023, so far, they did $1.9 million, 1.61 million more in 2023, with another queue to come still. Absolutely incredible, if you ask me. I don't know what you guys are thinking about it, but anyway, the cargo ship now, they have government contracts with the cargo ship, and they don't just do government contracts, they do other commercial stuff as well, commercial hauling for islands and things like that to bring the products, because there's no other ways to build these places without bringing them by ship. So anyway, That made $216,000 in 2021, the full year, 950 in 2022. So far in 2023 and three quarters, they already beat it by 3,000 with another quarter to go. So now you have Loretta Group where the big money comes from. 2021, 1.7 million. 2022, 7.1 million. 2023 so far, 5.3 million in 3 Qs with another Q to come. Now we'll get into the facts of where this stuff comes from. They have, now the CEO recently bought a private island, believe it or not, and I have the proof for that too. And they're developing villas. They have a mining project. They do commodity trading, which I'm going to get into soon as well. They have the mining asset where they're probably going to be moving that into the thing because it's not on the filings anymore. So I imagine the next filing is going to have it into the holding company as well. So there's just so much happening with this company. It's absolutely incredible, if you ask me.
There is. I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to cut you off because I can't go so far. Guys, you're like on DD overload, bro.
I'm done?
Yes.
Look at all this shit I got. I'm sorry. But like, honestly,
no, this is what I want to do.
Videos. Look at this one video of the island for one thing.
All right, show me a quick video. Go ahead.
Hey, hold on. I'll give you a video of the actual. Oh man, there's just so much, you guys.
And you know what? You know what I'd like you to do?
There you go. Here, look at this video. This proves that they are building what I said they're building. There's the company right there, HYD Global Investments right there. There's your product, your building being put up beside it. These are actual, not just stuff being made up. And there's so much more on it too, guys. I'm telling you, this is a gold mine. You guys really got to do your research on this thing.
And you know, if you can
another one here, it's called Jason's Villa, and look at this thing. It's just absolutely incredible. It proves this stuff is so real, you guys. It's not no scam OTC company. Look at the pool right there. Now look at the pool right here. Same thing, you guys. Exact. Like, oh wait, I'm not showing the tab.
There it is.
Oh there man, I haven't been showing the tabs. Okay, hold on. There's the video there. Look at this. Go back just a little bit, and you can see what I'm talking about. Come on. Okay, here we go. Sorry. But look, right there, there's HYD Global Investments right beside it. There's the product I was talking about, the building right there. This stuff is so real, and there's so much more about it too. Like, there's the actual a video from above on the same thing, right? But now, like, there's so many properties. There's just so much going on with this company, and they do all their own work. So you see, with everything going on, and look at these places, they're absolutely incredible. Like
they look
I can't even
awesome.
Touch the beginning of this for you guys because I'm like, you said I'm out of time. Now look at this monster. Like, I don't understand, and this is real. This is not bullshit, you guys. Like,
yeah, but no, if I had a dime for every time I heard that about an OTC company.
Oh yeah, I get that.
I'm just kidding with you.
I'm still proving
this
looks
right great. Now. Guys, this is what real due diligence looks like.
This is real DD, boys and girls.
Well, yes, and you know what we're going to do?
One more. Okay, this is a company, and this is I'm just going to explain it real quick. This here is a beach property they just bought for a certain amount. I don't know what it was, but they decided they were going to purchase it. It looked like crap when they bought it. Watch this video. This is what it looked like this is the upstairs. Keep this in mind. This is the upstairs. You can see the downstairs. There's no roof. It looks just horrible. But the guys are like, hey, let's build, let's get this thing. So that's what they did. And then this is what came of it. Okay, so you have, this is the project. Now this is them working on it. Okay, so just an idea. Then here's the actual product, and now it's also an Airbnb. Like, these guys got Airbnbs all over the world as well. Like, you guys really got to do your research, man. I'm telling you. I didn't buy these. I don't sit and do 24 hours of research on a company for no reason and read the file 100 times.
You listen.
Like,
you shared a ton with us today. All the links that you sent.
And here's the commodity trading that I was talking about. If you could just pop that video one more time. And here's the commodity trading. Like, this is
those humans? Are those humans?
They have this, or Copras, whatever those are, and then they have coal, they have other stuff. Like I just told you, only just 3 little parts of what's going on. So
And you know, it just goes to show what everything that you shared with us, because there's a ton more.
yeah, I
what,
got another hour, but I'm out of time apparently. So.
yeah, and you know what, you know, in a couple weeks or whatever, definitely like just keep us up to speed. I'm gonna take everything that you shared with us, even the stuff that we didn't get to, and I'll put it in the Discord, guys, so that way you guys could, you know, have at it. If you actually want to put together all that stuff in a PowerPoint or a Google Doc or whatever,
I'm actually going to make my own video of it, and then
yeah,
I'm going to put it out there. It's going to probably be about 20 minutes long or so, but this gives you guys
yeah.
an idea. There's no debt with this company, you guys. There's no convertibles. There's no nothing.
And you know what else? We put a poll out earlier, and this is what the results is. GGSM a buy? Put your thoughts down below. And yes, 43.6%. And a close second, I Like Cats came in, and nope, was last.
I love cats, but you know, but this I love even more right now. And the market cap is $2.4 million. They make 2.8 minimum per quarter.
Yeah, it's definitely an undervalued company based on what you showed me. I don't
understand. And people are like, oh, because it's not being pumped on Twitter, I don't want it. Yeah, well, it's a fucking NASDAQ company in the making, you guys, basically, because they don't need to pump it, but they do need people to realize what they are, and they're real. So take your heads out of your asses, if you'll pardon my language, and go look at a real company with no debts and revenue building constantly, more stuff going on. And they have major, the CEO's rich. He doesn't need to sell shares to us. He's got 200 million shares of this company as well. As I just don't even know where to go with you guys on this anymore.
Well, and we appreciate you sharing it. You make me laugh, man. You're great.
Oh, I'm enthused about this one, bro, because I'm looking at the price of it, and you look at the crap that's trading at 0.5 cent right now. Like,
it's crazy.
Okay, for instance, I don't know. I'm not trying to hurt.
Well, don't think so logically. Sometimes you got to throw logic out the window in the OTC, because usually it doesn't work.
Okay, let's just go with that one. We're gonna have huge news on Monday. What was the news? Well, we'll put out this bullshit thing that now our note holder. Oh, it's time for a note holder cash in. We'll make a little deal with him. He can fuck the investors one more time for everybody here. So, you know, I don't like to swear and things like that, but I'm very passionate.
We're having fun. Who cares?
in the market, especially after what happened with DVLP. That one pissed me off. I've held it to myself for a long time on that, about how I truly feel. But the more information has been surfacing about that POS, you know, and I'm talking about the CEO now and things like that, you know,
you just got to laugh. You know, we all take the losses.
He talked a great talk, but at the same time, he did nothing to back it up. Where this company doesn't talk worth shit, but yet they only just back their stuff up with filings and proper stuff and due diligence that you can like sit there and do 20 hours worth of. And I keep finding new stuff, and I'm like, oh my God.
I'm telling you right now, it's sometimes the most real companies that go through the biggest hurdles in the OTC and don't get the attention. There are a ton of companies, and you know them, and it's 90% of what's being pumped. It's 90% of what these IR firms are pushing on Twitter. They're nothing. They're nothing. They have nothing but convertible notes. They have so much debt. I mean, so much debt. Their share structures are bloated to high hell. And I like watching them bicker with each other. You know, when you have a company that has, you know, almost 10 billion outstanding shares maxed out, and they're a step above everybody else when they're sitting at, you know, maybe a half a penny or a quarter of a penny or whatever. So, and a lot of times when I sit down, people, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm a real CEO. I'm a real, you know." And we have a good track record actually here at the BFC. I've had some great guests. So, but I've seen it on other interviews. I've seen it on Twitter Spaces, the way people talk, and I'm sort of getting the bullshit radar going in my head. You know what I mean? When you talk with somebody and you're like, yeah, they're full of it, or that person's really sincere. Like Adam, who's just on, he's a sincere 100% dude. Real business, real stuff. I think Hobbs, this is another thing too. A lot of these companies are real, but a lot of them can't afford to be in business. So what they do is they get the money, they get the funding to sell the dream. They clean up their debt with or convertible notes or whatever they have to do, and they they dump all over the shareholders, the note holders end up dumping all over the retail anyways. And a lot of times you don't see the success in the filings. And let's be real, the filings aren't really the big catalyst often in the OTC, unfortunately. If that's the case, ILIS would be sitting at 10 cents. And well, if CYB was able to put up their filings, that'd be a different story too. But there's a lot of other companies that I can name that where they're not valued for their
so the book value is really what creates it, and that's without any kind of multiples to the industries. And with this company, I don't know what multiples to use because they're in so many darn industries.
Well, keep us updated. Share anything with us. And GGSM has now officially been added to the BFC Discord watch list. So I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. This is what Real DD is all about, guys. Mr. Hobbs, thank you for joining us on the BFC. Seriously.
100%. Thanks for having me.
You rock. Now get this guy out of here. Get him out of here. We went overtime. I knew we would go overtime. That's just what happens, when there's so much information. Great guest. Thanks again to Mr. Hobbs, and thank you to Mr. Adam Thomas for joining me as well. I do want to talk about a couple other tickers that we have going on right now, and I only have so much time, but I will share them with you nonetheless. Now, first one, I don't know what, Opti. Okay, why the heck not? Let's talk about Opti briefly. Now, where do we want to get in here? Before we actually get to that, let's share the tweet that, Brett Rosen put out. I think it was a 2030 put out. RB Capital is going to put out the next Opti PR early this upcoming week, which is in a couple days. We're in the upcoming week. I can't say much about the content right now, but the topic centers around the official takeover of Opti. Have a nice weekend, everyone. Hashtag Moga. Make Opti great again. OTC markets. All right, yeah. Moga, and by the way, there's some great merch coming your way if you're an Opti fan. So I like what we see here. I like what's going on. We had a great Twitter post from Wild Rhino. Shout out to you. There's a ton in the pipeline. Facts, constant communication and transparency. No need to raise money. No reverse split. What's next? Operations, timing on filings within a month. Brett will be the CEO within a month. Acquisition. New company has revenues and may uplist in 12 to 18 months. That's always the dream. They always want to uplist. It rarely happens. You know what? But I'll tell you what, man. When Brett was on the show talking about Opti and talking about everything that the CEO, how deceitful he was on everything. I mean, when he explained that, I was sitting there taking notes, and my mind was just spinning, and I couldn't grasp it. I know what you're thinking. Oh, wow, you couldn't grasp an OTC CEO ripping people off. No, it's not that. It's just the lengths at which this guy went. And I have a quick clip I want to show you guys in a second. But it's just mind-blowing that, people deceive for money. That's what they do. And it's not right. Target merger candidate revenue up to 100 million. Remember, he said he was talking to multiple possible acquisitions. So acquisition will be made through cash and preferred stock. New companies' books and records will replace Optex. And lastly, upcoming PR next week on official takeover, potential $5 million share buyback, polls regarding company direction. Brett said he's going to be putting out Twitter polls to gauge retail sentiment, SEC reporting, new Opti Twitter account, and several more PRs to follow. And it just blows my mind that this thing, you see companies get shut down. It blows my mind that this thing is even allowed to be traded. And I'm glad that Brett was able to take over to make these things happen for people that are holding the bag, that are, that have lost money. And guess what? This rarely, just it rarely happens. It rarely happens. Oh man. All right. Let's get into the chart a little bit. I just want to sort of go and show you where I would get in if I was going to get in here. We did have that gap up there. If you are the gaps always fill type of person, well, there you go. You're going to want to get in at that 26 mark, right around there. But what do I think is a nice floor? One thing when I look at the charts, I look for previous resistance to become supports. And right now, I'm looking at 26 as a support, just based on my feeling, my gut with what I see here. based on the bounce back. I think 26 would be a nice entry if you're just looking to, like, if you want to bid sit this thing and want to get the absolute best bang for your buck. I could see that's something I would do. Just hang out at 26. But with what he wants to do, taking this thing to 5 to 10 cents and taking this thing and getting to the NASDAQ in 12 to 18 months, I think that anything, down here is pretty safe. You've seen this just steadily increase. I like where it's moving, and you could tell the enthusiasm is back behind this stock. All right. Actually, I'm going to skip that clip because if you guys have been a part of the show, you guys seen Brett on. All right, what are we talking next? How about FLES? All right, let's talk about this. This is maybe the elephant in the room. Okay. Let's look at what happened. I have not sold one share, just for the record. I have not sold a share, and there's a reason why. Well, one was because I was too busy to put in a sell order because I wasn't thinking. I also didn't expect that they have the Terra did the day after the interview. But once we found out what was happening, it was pretty apparent that I listen. I covered it on this show, and trading is not a team sport. We all know that. I get it. But I am not going to let people that have been bagged because of a note holder literally dumping all over us, bid dumping all over us, not selling on the ask, not doing any of that. I couldn't even if I wanted to. And I saw where it was going. I mean, Lisa and everybody in the Wales Discord was watching what was happening and keeping a tally on how many shares were going in. And we found out it was that 1.2 million. And I'm going to that clip I am going to show you because he actually discussed it in the interview 2 days prior to the dumping. We saw this huge surge. It was great. I started watching this one at 109. I got in at 139. Right about there. And boom, we had this beautiful surge. Huge increase. I would have normally put in a sell to take 25% of my shares back on something that goes up 700%. Sell 25% and then retain. I like to retain a long-term position. But once we figured out what was happening, this thing was just constantly just bid dumping. And you could see me sort of leveled off here. We've leveled off here, and the selling's pretty much over. I think there's going to be an influx of selling with this. I like Chris Davenport. I like the platform, and I like his passion. The guy sacrificed a lot for this one. And so I want to just play a quick clip for you guys. And you know what? This is when he made the big news. But after this, after he announces that news, he says something very specific. And it's weird how he talked about the aggressive selling. And I talked to Chris. He was ticked off. He was not happy about the note holder dumping all over. But watch this. And just give me your thoughts in the comments section.
So I think it's at this point, what I'd like to do is talk about what the press release around, because it gets to the crux of what's important. Mm-hmm. So Tuesday morning, we'll announce that we've moved $7.4 million of debt off the balance sheet to the equity side. So we took out two of the largest debt holders in our deal. These guys are big names in the industry, can be very dilutive and very damaging to the well, I shouldn't say one of the two is known. I should be very careful. One of the two is known being pretty aggressive with dumping shares. So they're locked up. That'll be in the 8K and the details of that. It's a preferred share structure. That's roughly 50% of the entire convertible debt on the books.
Wow.
I'm currently that, to be honest, was hell. That took almost 5 months to get the one group going back and forth. We finally got it done. It is executed. Wow. It was executed the 31st of January. The second group signed their docs last night, I think around midnight. I got those in my inbox, so I was able to announce that as well. With the rest of the convertible debt, I'm negotiating with the rest of the team as well to try to move that debt from the debt side to an equity position, a preferred share, some sort of. And right now, I think we have one group, they have around 2 million. I think they're willing to move at least 90% of that over.
Holy crap.
It's looking really positive because they know that for
Well, they
this.
know the product is good. I mean, like they know the tech is good. If they're willing to negotiate for equity,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
seems like a huge move.
Yeah,
in my
it's awesome.
opinion.
Yeah, it was a big initiative of mine. I'm like, I can't move this company forward if these guys, won't play along. And and I think they're realizing for this company to get to the NASDAQ, they have to do this because it's just hammering the company and hold it down. So thanks, Brian. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, it was a big deal. And we're going to continue to get this as much off the balance sheet. I have another group. It's about 750 grand. They just want the write-off. I had another group. They said the same thing. They were like 1.2 million. But I think now they're more like would prefer to be in a preferred share structure and participate in the upside of a possible NASDAQ deal. So I have no NASDAQ deal. I'm not here to mislead anybody, but I think if I'm going to get a NASDAQ deal, which is what I want, we have to address the balance sheet, and that's been my focus. So.
And you have to be aggressive on that and that's one thing I'm glad that you brought up because I compared the 2023 filings to the 2022. I saw the hit that you guys took, and it seems like you're really grabbing the bull by the balls and really trying to fix this thing. And obviously you're doing it. By the way, this is so you get the point. I'm very optimistic, but yeah, he mentions that 1.2 million, and so those were the notes that were just getting dumped all over. So he read them wrong, unfortunately. But I think that we're going to see an influx of buying this week. This thing moves on nothing. I think this is going to gain traction, and not just to be pumped up again, but I think I would like to personally see this at a 30 to 50 cent share price. And I think with just some buying, guys, there's 9 million shares in the float. All right. This thing moved on Tuesday with some buying. Probably members in our Discord, maybe the Whales Discord, and this thing flew. All right. I mean, somebody wants to invest in a company, and these buys just make this stock move. That's an upside and downside to a low float. Is that as quick as it goes up, it will come down quick as well too. So a little bit about FLES. I really can't wait to see him succeed. I'm excited about that. I want to talk about IGPK. All right, IGPK. Let's zoom out here. Do I want to do that? Let's look at the 9-month. Yep. I have the floor here at 7.5. I think that news sends this. If we have company communication this week, I think we're going to see, as I said with the FLES, an influx of buying pressure. So many shares have been traded above a penny that, this is people dumping their shares, and I think there's going to be a lot of regret here. Now, this is going to be crazy. 0007, I bought this. I have not taken my profit yet. I know some people out there, experienced traders, are probably like, I know Sipdet told me, he goes, dude, what's wrong with you? I live on the edge. What can I say? But I think that, and I do have my marks, to take profit. I do. I want to see news. I want them to get IQ access, and I would like them to put out a tweet and communicate with shareholders. It would be absolutely great. And I'm calling it. If we get a tweet, you're going to see an influx of buying pressure. And I think if that's the case, and we see it this week, we could see 1.5 cents. It could get there. It's one of those psychological numbers, as one would say. But if you go on Baidu.com, BAIDU.com, you can search up Jenfen Wang. That is the Chinese search engine. I spent about an hour today just looking up articles on Jenfen Wang. All right, just go in, translate it to English, and have at it. All right, I think this is going to be a freaking monster of them. It already has been a monster move, and so if you got in, let's say you just started to get in on IGPK and you got in at these lower levels here, you got in on a little bit of pullback, especially down here in that 27 mark that I had, or 28 mark it was. And then you get in down here, you're looking safe. You're looking pretty good. But it all is contingent, and the long-term success is contingent on company communication, getting that yield off, and looking at the roadmap going forward. So those are my thoughts on IGPK. ILIS. All right. We had some good movement, moving in the right direction. Then we had a little bit of a dump. Timelines were always the issue. But you know what? I have a feeling that we're going to get a lot of news. I've been pounding the table on the stock since it was up in the higher levels. And I know people are like, yeah, well, people bought when they were 30 or 40. I've doubled down. I averaged up and I'm averaging down. And so I have 100% conviction in what they're trying to accomplish. And I figured that would be a good place to close with ILIS. Now, I'd like to bring on a good friend. Let's bring in Jord Hugga. Bring in the Jord. Jord Hugga, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, E-Rock?
Good. Just just talking some stocks, and it was a great day. I'm sure you heard Adam Thomas. That guy, love having him on. Mr. Hobbs had a ton of DD to share. Great stuff. So let me ask you, what does and this guy has doubled down. You have balls of steel, and you have put your money and leverage. Where where your mouth is, man. You have how many shares do you have now? Just out of curiosity.
A little over 16 million.
And what did you start off with about 2 years ago?
Well, my first initial purchase was 200,000 shares at 4 cents. But again, I averaged all the way up and all the way down and all the way sideways, and we'll continue to do so.
All right. So give me some of your thoughts here. I mean, this has been anticipation for you, for me, and like we're sort of, the last and there's been tensions, in ILIS Discord and in general, regarding ILIS. All right. But the last couple weeks, it's sort of like we're at that standstill, like a minute before, you're in a gun shootout, and it's like a second right before somebody pulls the gun out. But that second, it seems like it's just lasting for an eternity. Do you know what I'm saying? And what is your gut telling you going into this week? And do you think we're going to have, I mean, we saw the update that ERT had. What give me what's going on? What are you feeling right now?
Again, it's very contextual per the person's outlook and what they're trying to do. I don't want, and I got yelled at. I don't always want the share price to move up in the short term, because I know it's going to happen long term, and I just want to keep getting as many shares as I can before that's no longer a viable option. But because of how close they are and some of the cryptic remarks that they put out in press releases, and then of course I was able to go to the pre-annual shareholders meeting and meet up with JP and Nick and a couple other loyal shareholders, that there's just something amazing on the horizon. I personally believe that ILIS is going to be the company reverse merging up into the NASDAQ, but we do know that QIND is not uplisting and could also be reverse merging onto the NASDAQ as one of the ways that, I think that, very reasonably you can make that assumption, is them saying that there won't be a reverse split. And if you're still uplisting and have to do the road show and all these other things, and you don't know what the market's going to bear for your price, then you can't guarantee that there's not going to be a reverse split. So I think that this is them telegraphing information to us and letting us know what's to come. One of the things that I am a big believer in myself, and this is just based on their previous plan and what it is that they were trying to do approximately a little over 2 years ago now, and then where we are today, which can very much feel like we went in a big circle, is they wanted to have all these companies uplisted onto bigger boards, and they wanted to have a conglomerate. Due to the constraints of the markets changing and the lack of liquidity and cheap money and interest rates rising, that I think that they had to pivot and come up with new plans, only to get all the way back to the beginning and still potentially be rolling everything up into one super company, albeit in its own individual parts. Like they would still have their own boards and CEOs and people running them, and it would still function as a conglomerate. The only thing that I'm not sure of there is that if ERT is still issuing dividends to ILIS shareholders, which again they put out in a press release, then I don't know if they're just going to follow that path that they were already following for ERT and QIND. But like I said, with QIND probably not uplisting, it's either going to be that or ILIS that reverse merges into the larger company, or potentially the combination of both. And then ERT could be so close behind, or they might have some other plan for it that they just decide to do that organically and uplist it. But it seems like we're going to get news in the next week or two here, and whatever it's going to be, I can't wait. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and like you, I'm sort of hoping I could get some more shares, in this next week because and I like listen. Obviously, the lockup is off the table at this point. That's everything indicates that that's the case. In regards to dividends, I think that they're doing the same thing that they wanted to do, but like you said, I think QIND is the bargaining chip in this negotiations process. And he's stateside again. JP was stateside again. It tells me that something could be happening and is happening. So I think QIND is the bargaining chip. I think it's all going to get rolled into one. And I think that's a very good indicator for what we could expect. I know there's a lot of people that are going to be pissed off and be like, "Oh, well, I should have bought more." And there's always you're never going to make everybody happy, but I know that I've been consistent here. You've been consistent here, and I think it's all going to start coming to fruition. I really, really do. I remember starting with my first buy was 54,000. No, I'm sorry, 23,000 shares. Then I'm like, I want to get 50,000 shares. I said, you know what? I'm going to get 100. 100 is good. And so I kept averaging up. And then I'm like, you know what? I liked the company. I went to the shareholder meeting. By that point, I had, I'm up to 700,000 shares now. I would like to get to that million mark. I'd like to get to the million mark, maybe even more. Why not? And Michael Singleton says it best, this is why I need IGPK to run. Now, somebody, me being the huge ILIS fan that I am, and people are like, well, why didn't you take your profit already, you idiot? You could double your ILIS position. Well, I want, as much. I know this is where greed comes in. This is where greed can bite you in the ass. But I'm following my conviction. I know you have. And I could just, when you just sense something's on the horizon, that minute right before the gunfight that lasts an eternity, those special moments. I'm telling you, I have a sense that things are going to happen. And when they do, it's going to be quick and it's going to be boom, boom, boom. And I did talk to JP about a week ago just to ask him if he could come on the show and share information. Obviously I can't ask him questions that I want to because of, regulations and, he can't share stuff, unfortunately. But he says he would absolutely be happy to come on. Jordan, I want you on for that. And I think it's going to be an exciting time coming up.
Yeah, I agree with everything except for the fact that I do believe that the share lockup is 100% on the table, as I think that that's going to be a very pivotal part of them cleaning up their share structure by offering long-term shareholders that are willing to, for lack of a better word, exchange potentially, ILIS shares for either ERT, Hyperion, or QIND shares, that by locking them up for, I believe the initial time frame was a year, but then they talked about it potentially being 6 months. But let's just say a year. That if they lock up the shares for a year, that basically puts them back into the restricted category. And then potentially through the exchange process, let's say they just do like a 1-for-5, that by adding 100 million shares to either QIND, ERT, Hyperion, or splitting them between the three of them and doing a 5-for-1 exchange, they could retire 500 million ILIS shares. It's hard to know for sure, if this is still going to be part of their plan, because again, I don't know that reverse merging plays into what they planned on doing the reverse or the share lockup for in the beginning. But it makes the most sense to me, in the same way that they're not raising the authorized shares right now to dilute very quickly in a way that's not beneficial to us and to them being the largest shareholders. I'm hoping that we get to keep our shares and we don't do an equity conversion that some people are afraid of. But the other option is that they do end up having to sell off, a couple 100 million shares, and then they just acquire a company that's so much larger anyways, that the value's still there and we still make our money.
Right on. I think this is good speculation. I appreciate you hopping on briefly just to share your thoughts. And Jordan will be back on again once things really start happening. I'm hoping to have ILIS. I'd like to have all of ILIS management on you know, once things do start happening and we have questions to ask based on the news. So, Jord, thank you so much for hopping on and sharing some of your thoughts.
No, thanks so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. And for those that are members of the Discord, we are doing a private call at 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight. And like I said, we plan on having more of those. It's just a good way for people to actually bounce ideas off each other and to just kind of see what's going on. So for anybody who's watching who wants to get on that call, just make sure you're a part of the BFC Discord, and it'll start at 8 o'clock Eastern.
That's funny because I just found out about the call, and you know it's isn't it funny, George? You take the reins on it. I love it, man. You're boss. You are boss, bro. You are.
Yeah. Well, if it's my meeting, I do tend to set them up. So
I love it. Yo, that's great. I can't wait to be cheersing a beer and eating some wings with you.
There you go.
Nice.
Sooner rather than later, my friend. I really think that we're getting news this incoming week. If we don't, the latest that I thought it was going to be is I think March 1st. And I'm really hoping that we get a couple of pieces of news, but it's incoming and it's coming soon. So
imminent
wings and beer.
You have a great day, man.
You do the same, sir.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had an awesome time tonight. We covered a lot, and it's going to be a very interesting week. And hey, it's going to be better than last week, but we don't look backwards. We look forward. That's what we do here. All right, that's it. I'm going to go take the dog for a walk. You guys have an awesome night. And remember, there is more that binds us than breaks us. Peace out.